Chapter 1 August. I eyed the enemy. It was big, green, and smelly. It was past time to drain the swamp.
"Are you sure you don't want me to do it?" asked a concerned Bertie Sellers.
Bertie had loaned me the 2 big hip waders that I now wore. I had stuffed extra socks into the toes of the boots so that they would somewhat fit. Correction, I had put socks down 1 boot. The other boot had fit over my air cast, which I was now allowed to walk on for small distances since I had broken my ankle last month. I eyed the algae mess at the Happy Camper Resort pool and took a deep breath. While Bernie's offer to do this for me was sweet, he was also elderly, and letting him drain the swimming pool was a risk I was not willing to take. I can do this. Taking careful steps down the pool ladder, I reflected that I hadn't expected to get up close and personal with the pool problem when I had inherited my grandmother's derelict campground a couple of months ago. However, money constraints had me dealing with the issue rather than hiring someone to take care of the swimming pool. Slowly, I was improving the Happy Camper Resort, trying to restore the campground to the condition I remembered during my childhood visits. Something slipped past me in the water, and I jumped, glaring at the offending frog.
"Here!"
Bernie leaned over, extending a pole that was shaped specifically to open the drain at the bottom of the end of the pool.
"The drain is over at the deep end, near the middle."
Great. I mustered up a smile, took the pole, and carefully moved through the sludgy water. Truthfully, I should have taken care of the pool a while ago. At the time, I had felt that the leaking roofs, crumbling boardwalk, and cleaning the beach area by the lake were more important. Now I needed to get this done, as the camping season was in full swing, and visitors to my campground expected a pool to be available in the sweltering heat. The reviews from my campground were starting to reflect this, and I couldn't afford the negativity. Swatting away some nuts, I winced as the water started getting closer to my waist. At 5'2", I was not exactly the tallest of people. The hip waders were hitched under my armpits. The suspenders had been intricately tied to make up for my lack of height. While it was not full, the pool was getting deeper than I would like.
"You're getting close," called out Bertie. "You should be able to feel around with your foot and find it."
Searching blindly through the opaque water, I carefully towed the bottom of the pool, trying to feel for an indent where the drain might be.
"To your left!"
shouted Conrad, adjusting his glasses. "It's to the right!" corrected Bee, hands on her ample hips as she watched from the edge of the pool. A crowd of voices disagreed with one another as I shuffled around through the swampy pool near the center of the deep end. There! I stopped, feeling with my foot an indent and what felt like something sticking up just a little. Ignoring the group of onlookers, I dunked my pole into the water and did my best to locate the drain with it. Sliding, angling, rotating, finally the pole clicked into place.
"Did you find it?"
questioned an anxious Bertie. "I found it," I replied. Taking the bent pole with both hands, I shoved on it. "Remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey," chimed in Thelma from the crowd that had gathered to watch the pool be drained. I sighed, ignoring them. While I would take advice when warranted, I was an adult and knew the basics of opening a drain. Pushing and straining, I fought against the drain which did not budge. Finally, I looked up at Bertie. "Is there a trick to it?"
"Are you sure the pole has latched on?"
he wondered. I felt it click into place. I gestured to the pole, which now stood upright on its own, now that it was hooked into the drain cap.
"It should just turn,"
a confused Bertie said.
"Maybe it's stuck,"
advised Conrad. He pursed his lips and fingered one of his suspenders. Despite the heat, Conrad still wore a button-up shirt and faded dress pants.
"It has been a few years since anyone has tried to open the pool."
"You might need some muscle to help you," chimed in Thelma. "Great," I muttered, eyeing the offending pole which would not budge. Grabbing it again, I pushed with everything I had until I felt my bad ankle twinge, and I decided I did not need to re-injure myself. With a huff, I let go and stood back. "Maybe there's a way to get more leverage?"
"You should have let me do it,"
nodded Bertie.
"A little thing like yourself doesn't have enough muscle."
I wanted to point out that while Bertie was taller, he was also no longer used to physical labor. The most he did was comb the beaches with his metal detector. Instead, I bit my tongue. "Need a hand?" asked a male voice before I heard a splash into the pool. Topher stood in his swim trunks, his thin, pale form looking in disgust at the algae that surrounded him.
This is grosser than I thought.
Topher, I said in dismay, you shouldn't be in here. It's not exactly hygienic. Topher had a sheepish shrug as he slogged toward me through the sludge.
If we get this done quickly, I can get hosed off.
Okay, I agreed reluctantly. I really did need the help, and he was here now. Topher had come to the campground last month with a group of friends to camp in tents for a week. The friends had left, but Topher stuck around. He was starting to become a staple of the community, playing checkers and backgammon with the older gentlemen. I wondered how long he planned on lingering, yet, since he was paying for his site faithfully and I needed the revenue, I was not about to kick him out. We both pushed on the pole, and slowly it began to budge.
Come on, we got this,
encouraged Topher, putting more of an effort into turning the pole.
Don't break it, cautioned Conrad. We don't have another pole, and no one sells them anymore.
It's stuck. Push a little harder, grunted Topher, muscles straining. I put everything I had into it, and suddenly the pole gave way. Unbalanced, I took a step forward too far, and green slimy water slushed over the edge of the hip waders, oozing down my body. Oh, my word, I squeaked. It was cold and uncomfortable. Everyone was clapping, and I looked back to see Topher holding the pole and drain plug aloft like a prize.
It's unplugged, grinned Topher. Now what?
You have to strain the pool.
Birdie held up a couple of nets.
Get all the debris out. I have got some garbage bags ready.
You're kidding me. I looked at him in shock. I thought I would just unplug the pool and it would be drained. No one said anything about staying in the swampy goo any longer than necessary.
If you don't, the drain hole will plug up and be useless, shrugged an unapologetic Birdie. If the pipe gets plugged, it will take a plumber to get the water moving again, and could cost a lot of money.
Holding in a frustrated sigh, I waded to the edge of the pool. Birdie handed me a net. Topher grabbed one too. Topher, you really don't need to do this, I assured him. He was a paying guest. You should get cleaned up before you catch something from the algae.
It's all good,
smiled Topher boyishly as he scooped a pile of muck up with his net.
I can't let you battle the frogs alone.
I shuddered. I hoped frogs were the only wildlife that we were about to encounter. If this were anything that even resembled a snake or spider, I was going to be out of this pool faster than an Olympic track medalist. We scooped for the better part of an hour, getting all the nasty, decaying leaves out of the pool. Topher happily evicted the majority of the frogs. Finally, we crawled up the ladder. Birdie and Topher helped me to shed the two big hip waders. Thankfully, the majority of the crowd had departed, going about their business. Bored by the sight of us repeatedly handing up pails of debris to be dumped in the dumpster by Birdie. I am going to have a shower, I sighed. My foot hurt, and all I could smell was the swampy water on me.
Hose me down,
a cheerful Topher asked of Birdie, who happily complied, aiming a garden hose at him. Thank you for your help. I waved to both of them before grabbing my cane, courtesy of one of the many senior citizens who graced my campground. I made my way to my vintage camper. It was a Shasta trailer of dubious years that had held up pretty well over time. Last month I had managed to get the leaky roof solved. Now I had settled quite comfortably into the old camper that my grandmother had left me, along with her two Boston Terriers, Cupcake and Cookie. The camper was painted a cheery green and yellow. I had two blue Muskoka chairs to welcome me on the tiny lot that was bordered by blue, pink, and purple flowers. I had spent a lot of my summers at the Happy Camper Resort with my grandmother while growing up. We had fallen out of touch, which is why it had been a surprise when after her death I had inherited everything of hers, including the outstanding and delinquent bills. Grandma had not been the best with finances, yet now the tourist season was going full swing, I was finally making headway on the overdue bills. Topher had convinced me to get an automated reservation system. His friend had set me up with a new computer and program, all for wholesale price as long as I left him a great review. I was happy to do so, considering what I would have spent on a program far more pricey and complicated. The reservation software had been steadily filling spots in the campground as fast as my new electrician, Evan Miller, had been able to replace the electrical outlets at each lot. With a steady stream of revenue, things were looking up. It helped that my best friend Molly and I had started a catering business called Happy Catering. We baked out of the licensed kitchen at the Happy Camper Resort and delivered all over the nearby town of Oaks Crossing. Plus, we had tapped into a few customers here at the resort as well. On Saturdays, we manned a baking booth at the local farmers market, which took over the park in the center of town. For the first time in a while, I felt like I had a little breathing room in my finances. Too bad I couldn't breathe in too deep right now, I reflected, sniffing the stench of the swamp on my clothes. Once I had showered, I grabbed my basket full of dirty laundry. The campground boasted a miracle of 7 working dryers and 1 broken one. The problem was the washers. The second last working washer had quit the previous week, leaving the one working washing machine very overworked. It had gotten so bad, B had drawn up a chart for the regular campers so that everyone would have their turn to get clean clothes. My initials were slotted for this afternoon, and after 2 weeks without laundry, I was happy to get my spot. Walking into the laundry room, I noticed the washing machine was happily running, as was a single dryer. I plunked my basket onto the folding table and looked at the schedule, wondering if I had mixed up the time. Right there, in black and white, were my initials, ICT. I frowned as I realized the washing machine still had 27 minutes on the cycle time. Someone had just started a load.
"The owner of this place really needs to get the washing machines fixed," a voice behind me said. "Better yet, replace the almond and whatever green that is Grandma's appliances. I'm surprised they don't have a ringer attached."
Startled, eyes turned to see a suntanned, middle-aged man grab a filthy t-shirt, tossing it into the large plastic laundry sink. He flipped graying brown hair out of his bearded face as he grabbed a scrub brush and began scraping mud off of faded denim jeans into the nearby garbage. I collected my thoughts away from the stranger. I'm the owner. I'm also scheduled to be doing my laundry right now? He straightened up, looking down at me. Raising an eyebrow in amusement, he shook his head.
"You might be the owner, but you need to take your turn, just like the rest of us."
I pasted an insincere smile on my face. Those are my initials on the schedule. ICT stands for Ivy Cherise Thurman. Bearded guy paused. Dropping the jeans into the tub, he turned to face me fully. Placing his hands on his hips, his lip ticked up in a slightly amused look.
"Huh, isn't that a funny coincidence?"
Excuse me? I was not in the best mood. My foot was sore, and I really just wanted clean clothes. The way the heat had been acting up lately, I had been going through my wardrobe a lot, trying to stay dry and clean. The air conditioning unit in my camper was not working, nor was it available at the clubhouse or office, and fans were not cutting the muggy air. I needed clean clothes, or I would be living in my bathing suit soon. He held out a hand, dirty from the mud he had been removing from his jeans.
"Ivan Carlton Thomas."
The washing machine is reserved for regulars. I pointed at the sign on the door. I haven't seen you around here before.
"That's because I'm usually working," noted Ivan, keeping a waiting hand out in greeting. "I assure you I do pay my rent on time. I just happen to put it in your mail slot rather than handing it over in person. I have lot 13.
Oh, I deflated a little bit as I took his proffered hand. Nice to meet you.
You as well, grunted Ivan. When are we getting new washing machines?
When I can afford them, I remarked dryly, dropping his hand. Limping back to the schedule, I looked at the grid, hoping to find my name somewhere in B's fancy script. Otherwise, I was going to have to use the coin laundry in town, which I really didn't want to do. I was on a tight budget and preferred to keep my cash for groceries since I loved to eat.
Look, I will do you a solid, decided Evan, eyes crinkling. You can throw your laundry in with mine. I'd pre-wash all the nasty stuff anyway, so it shouldn't get any grease on your things. Just make sure you get all your stuff out when done. I really can't wear any of your thongs.
Your offer is just so tempting, I murmured, pretending to think about it. Potential grease stains and underwear theft. I will pass. Grabbing my basket, I thumped along with my cane, heading for the exit. As I left, I could hear him chuckle.
See yourself, princess.
Jerk, I muttered under my breath. Making my way to B's trailer, I dumped my heavy laundry basket on her patio table before taking a seat. You look fit to be tied. B pursed her lips, setting down the latest crime novel she was reading. She had on a bright new red lipstick. I guess she and Thelma had gone shopping for makeup. Her white hair was neatly combed into a straight short bob, and I wondered if she was wearing mascara. Are you wearing eyeshadow? I asked, looking at her curiously. B blushed. Just a little. Now, never you mind. I want to know what's got you in such a tizzy. Privately, I wondered if Bea had a crush on someone. Deciding I would get the details out of Thelma later, I sighed. When you made the washing schedule, did you remember there are 2 people in the campground with the initials ICT? Bea's face scrunched up before it cleared in realization. Oh, you must have met Ivan. Yes, I muttered darkly. Bea laughed in amusement. He's a bit of a pill, but when you two get to know him, he's a good fellow. He's a jerk, I repeated my earlier words to myself. He keeps the lawns mowed and trimmed, advised Bea. I wouldn't get on his bad side. The campground lawnmower is older than me, and Ivan keeps it running. I had wondered who was the man with a death wish who mows the lawn at 5 a.m. I cocked my head to the side, remembering how I hadn't been impressed to be woken so early. Even Cookie and Cupcake had barely raised an eye, just growling a little and stretching out to try to get some more sleep before the lawnmower had gone by. Now, Ivy, tissed Bea. Ivan works 2 jobs and helps out here. He's a busy man. Well, he's using the washing machine, I grumbled. I suppose I will have to use the one in town. Or you could get an appliance person out to see what is really wrong with them machines, a pert Bea replied. They're as near old as the lawnmower. A lot of things are old around here, I sighed. However, I'm doing the best I can. This weekend we are booked full. Once I have the money from that, I can get a washing machine or 2 fixed, which will help a lot. However, we all need to make do until then. Ivy! Hollered Molly as she came up the dirt road. I waved, waiting for her to come over. You will never believe it, danced Molly in excitement as she grinned. We have the biggest order ever! What is it for? A wedding? A birthday? I asked hopefully. Our fledgling catering business could use all the publicity we could get. The more people who came to the event and sampled our baking, the more likely we were to get future orders. Even better! Exclaimed Molly in delight. The mayor has asked us to bake for his booth at the Barbecue Fest happening in town this weekend. Whitcomb wants to hand out cupcakes to the kids as he smoozes their parents for votes in his election campaign. He wants us to bake the cupcakes? I questioned in growing excitement. This is big. Can we put up a sign saying we baked them? Better than that. We get to do the entire display. It's only for our cupcakes, squealed Molly. We can put up a sign, leave our business cards, and make it as pretty as we want. All he asks is that we use green icing to match his campaign. I was thinking a cascade of different greens. Wait. I put the brakes to our enthusiasm. Are we the only ones baking? Just how many cupcakes are we talking about? Oh, a few, shrugged an unconcerned Molly. We're going to make bank. For this weekend? That's not that far away, I gulped, wondering just what my friend had gotten us into. How many cupcakes did Mayor Whitcomb order, Molly? 24, revealed Molly in an offhand manner. 24 dozen? I relaxed. We could pull off 288 cupcakes easily. 2,400, smiled Molly. I told you we were going to make some serious cash. I groaned. Laundry was going to have to wait.